I once had a private, mysterious moment with a rose in my hand. Only when there were no barriers left between us could that flower truly bloom. I always longed to witness with my own eyes the moment that flower would blossom in all its beauty. But every time, she refused me. Until the year my parents died. She, 12 years my senior, took me in to live with her and care for me. She spoiled me without limits. I wanted to repay that kindness with all my heart and body. But when she learned of my true feelings, Vivian Lane, the woman who had always loved me so deeply, slapped me across the face. "Ethan, you've gone too far." In a single night, she withdrew every ounce of care she'd ever shown me. Then turned around to find herself a new fiancé. She even forced me to attend their wedding. The next day, I quietly changed my college choice, selecting a university over 5,000 miles from the capital. The moment I submitted my application, the front door suddenly swung open. I turned my head and saw that Vivian had come home. Her expression was as cold as always. Even when she saw me, she didn't say a word. But as she walked closer to me, remembering something, her steps suddenly faltered. Then she asked me, "Today's the deadline for applications, isn't it? Have you finished filling yours out?" I nodded and replied, "I'm done." She seemed to be struggling to suppress some strange darkness inside her. Then she withdrew her gaze and asked again, "You chose Columbia, didn't you?" It wasn't a question but a statement of certainty. Even though our relationship had become terrible now, beyond repair, my choosing Columbia was something we both tacitly acknowledged. Columbia was one of the nation's top universities. Most importantly, it was right here in the city. Long ago, Vivian had already bought an apartment near Columbia, prepared and waiting for me to get in, so we could move there together. Even though she now had a fiancé, that plan had never changed. She'd never imagined I would leave. I could hear the certainty in her words. My eyes flashed with guilt. After a long pause, I lowered my head and answered, "Yes." Vivian wasn't surprised by that answer. She just hummed softly and turned toward the study. Before leaving, she still reminded me, "Before school starts, if you need anything, just go directly to her assistant. He'll help you take care of it." I hesitated for a moment, about to say something, when Vivian's phone suddenly rang. She pulled out her phone and glanced at the name on the screen. And her expression immediately softened. "Oh, Connor. What's going on?" That gentle voice I hadn't heard in so long. Then she hurried into the study, not sparing me another thought. I had been about to say something, but now I could only lower my head in disappointment, swallowing all the words I'd wanted to say back down. The truth was, I hadn't chosen Columbia at all, but Stanford, the school farthest from this city. Soon enough, I would leave her. After I was gone, she had to be happy. I glanced at the time on my phone. 60 days until move-in. I opened my countdown app. Set a 60-day countdown to leaving this place. Watching each second, each minute on my phone screen slip away with time, I suddenly smiled faintly. Just 60 more days, and I'll be completely free of her. With that, I put away my phone and returned to my room. That night I slept poorly, and woke up very late. After washing my face, I came downstairs to the dining room, and saw Vivian sitting at the table. I froze for a moment. Normally at this hour, she would have already finished breakfast and been at the office. I'd deliberately woken up late to avoid running into Vivian, never expecting she'd still be there waiting for me. Seeing me finally come downstairs, Vivian frowned but said nothing. She just watched me silently, her eyes complex, carrying both reproach and pain. As if she had so much to say, but in the end remained silent. Even when you're on break, you still can't mess up your sleep schedule. I didn't argue, just nodded obediently, choosing a seat a little distance away from her. She spoke again. "The assistant will be here soon, to take you shopping for everything you'll need for school." I just nodded silently again. My very silence caught Vivian's attention. She noticed something was off about me. About to say something, I spoke first. "Sister-in-law, why haven't you gone to work today? Are you planning to go on a date with Connor?" When she heard me ask that, Vivian's gentle expression from moments ago suddenly transformed, her voice unconsciously turning cold. That's none of your concern. Her suddenly icy tone made me freeze. But immediately after, I understood. That she'd misunderstood the intent behind my question. The truth was, I now only saw her as my sister-in-law. The question had been purely out of curiosity, with no hidden meaning. I was about to explain, when Connor pushed through the door. What are we talking about? He smiled with refined politeness, like a perfect gentleman. Hearing I was about to go shopping for school supplies. He even volunteered to take me, as if he were truly a caring elder looking after his junior. Vivian frowned, as if wanting to refuse. Seeing this, I shook my head too, about to say it wasn't necessary. But Connor had already patted his chest, assuring Vivian. Vivian, we're engaged now. I'm Ethan's brother-in-law. Let me show a little sincerity here. Vivian nodded in agreement, then completely bypassed my opinion. Just looked helplessly at Connor and said, then we'll all go together. Watching Vivian agree on her own without bothering to ask what I thought. I lowered my head, the corner of my mouth lifting in a bitter smile. I had no choice but to swallow back the refusal that had been about to leave my lips. After the group finished eating, Connor and I, along with Vivian, went to the shopping center. First buying some school supplies, then moving to the clothing section, picking out a few warm outfits. Seeing me lingering in the winter clothes section, Connor seemed a bit surprised. Finally couldn't help but ask, Ethan, I heard you're enrolled at Columbia. That school's in New York City, summers are pretty hot there. And you're starting school in summer. Why are you buying so many winter clothes? I paused for a moment. It's true that summer in New York is very hot. But the school I enrolled in isn't in New York, but in Anchorage, the farthest northern city. It's cold there year-round. The reason I chose that place was because Stanford was the farthest school from New York, and I already had plenty of summer clothes. So now I'm buying winter clothes first. Buy everything at once, saves trouble later. My expression remained calm, casually finding an excuse to cover it up. Neither of them suspected a thing. Shopping finished, Vivian glanced at her watch and saw it was already noon. So she decided we should get lunch first. The group went to a restaurant together. Vivian held the menu and ordered a table full of food. When the dishes arrived, I was in an awkward position. The entire table was covered in spicy food that Connor loved. My stomach was sensitive. I'd never been able to handle spicy food. And yet, Connor saw me eating only plain white rice from my bowl. So he kept smiling and piling food into my bowl. Piece after, the white rice in my bowl was stained completely red with chili oil. My expression couldn't help but turn sour. Seeing me pause for quite a while, Connor looked unhappy, glancing awkwardly at Vivian. Does Ethan not like me or something? He won't touch any of the food from my family's restaurant. Vivian glanced briefly at the food in my bowl, her voice cold as she said, stop acting childish. Just eat. Hearing that warning tone in her voice, I looked at her deeply, and images flashed through my mind, of all the times before when she'd always catered to my tastes. I still remembered once when I ate too much spicy food, and got a fever, then kept vomiting. She immediately rushed me to the hospital in the middle of the night. Stayed up the entire night taking care of me, and only when my fever broke the next day, did she finally rest. From that point on, Vivian issued an order, saying from now on, no spicy food was allowed in the house. Once when the staff accidentally made the wrong dish for me, she fired the entire kitchen staff. For so many years, she'd truly spoiled me rotten. Yet now, just to make Connor happy, she'd ordered an entire table of spicy dishes, and forced me to eat. But in the end, I said nothing, silently eating it down. The moment it touched my mouth, I was coughing from the spice. And yet Vivian acted as if she didn't see. Once she saw me eating, she turned her gaze away, all her attention directed toward Connor. Her demeanor so distant there wasn't a trace of intimacy left. After eating, Connor suggested we go for a walk. Vivian naturally didn't object, but my stomach felt like it was burning. I just waved them off. You two go ahead. I can't make it. Connor didn't care at all about my refusal. Instead, he kept insisting, come on, let's go together, don't split up the group. He tugged lightly at my shoulder, By this point, sweat was already beading on my forehead. My lips had paled several shades. I weakly waved him off. I'm not feeling well. Need to rest a bit. Really can't go. Hearing me say that, Connor finally dropped the idea of dragging me along. But he seemed a bit hesitant. Should we take you home first then? Right at that moment, Vivian glanced at her watch. Then said, I'll call the driver to pick him up. After that I'll go for a walk with you. Her words were like a nail in the coffin, forcing me to sit and wait where I was. Saying she'd call the driver in a bit. Then she led Connor away to the nearby park. But I waited for a very long time. The driver she'd mentioned never showed up. The sky grew darker and darker. I laughed bitterly. This neighborhood has so few cars. Can't even call a ride. At least home is only 2 miles away. I forced myself through the pain and walked home. The moment I got back, my stomach hurt so badly I couldn't stand it. I rushed to the bathroom and vomited violently. After taking medicine and lying slumped against the sink to rest, my phone suddenly vibrated. I opened it to look. It was a photo Connor had sent. In the photo were Connor and Vivian kissing. Not long after, the photo was recalled. Immediately following, Connor messaged, "Sent that by mistake. Don't pay it any mind." Looking at that message, I laughed. If this were before, I definitely would have been heartbroken. But now I only replied with one line. As long as you two are happy. The next few days, Vivian didn't come home. And during those days, I kept receiving messages that Connor sent me. But I didn't reply, because I was busy gathering up everything from those years that Vivian had given me. I organized it all, and hired someone to sell the old house my parents had left behind. Then deposited all that money onto a card, waiting until school started to give that card to Vivian as repayment for all those years she'd raised me. After selling everything, I had nothing left to have enough for tuition. I started working multiple jobs, up before dawn and home after dark. 3 jobs a day, doing practically any hard, dirty, exhausting work available. In just a few days I'd grown haggard. That day when I was delivering food, I received an order for a birthday cake. Arriving at the address on the order, I discovered it was Connor's villa. Only then did I remember today was his birthday. I hesitated, unsure whether I should deliver it. But the order was about to be late, so I reluctantly brought the cake inside. Before entering, to avoid being recognized, I kept my delivery cap and mask on. After knocking, I was about to hand Connor the cake to sign for, when someone stuck their leg out from somewhere, making both me and the cake crash hard to the ground. The cake was completely destroyed. Several of Connor's friends all wrinkled their noses and stepped back in disgust. What kind of delivery person are you? You completely ruined a perfectly good cake. I could clearly feel someone had deliberately tripped me. But looking around, I knew no one would speak up for me. All I could do was keep bowing and apologizing. But the person standing near me wouldn't let it go. What good is an apology? This was a custom cake worth 7 figures. Can you even afford to pay for it? The contempt in their voice made my face burn. Right now I truly couldn't afford to pay. All I could do was keep bowing and apologizing. But they still wouldn't let it go. A delivery person like you, even if you sold yourself, couldn't pay for 1/10 of this cake. Well, today's Connor's birthday. Let's not waste the cake. Just eat all of it and we'll let this go. Seeing them gathering to watch the show, Connor stepped forward to mediate. Those pieces are all dirty now. That's not really appropriate. But the others just laughed. What's not appropriate about it? Someone like him probably never had cake this expensive before. Connor, you're too nice. You have to realize he ruined your birthday party. We're not even making him pay. Just teaching him to respect other people's things. Connor was persuaded, and nodded along. Fine, eat all this cake. Then clean up this mess. Just as those words left his mouth, Vivian suddenly stepped out from inside the house. What's going on here? That familiar voice rang out above me. I flinched, quickly ducking my head even lower. Terrified of being recognized, several friends immediately embellished the story, exaggerating every detail. Connor, afraid Vivian would be upset, quickly added, "We're not making him pay for the cake anymore." Just telling him to eat it all. Consider it a lesson. So he won't be so clumsy at work in the future. Vivian, that's not too much, is it? Vivian's gaze fell straight on me, making me feel like she'd recognized me. But the very next second her cold voice rang out. Not too much at all. My chest seized with sharp pain. But I still didn't lift my head. Just silently endured everyone's stares. Slowly crawling toward the cake. I could hear the mocking laughter of those around me. But I said nothing. Just quietly sat down and ate every bit of that cake. That day, after finishing my deliveries, I dragged my aching body home. About to go to my room and rest, I turned on the light and saw Vivian Lane already sitting on the living room sofa. The entire space thick with cold tension. I vaguely guessed what was coming. Speaking softly, sister-in-law, when she suddenly shot to her feet, cutting me off. Why were you delivering food? Don't I give you money? So she had recognized me after all. Then why did she still make me eat that cake? Wasn't it just to please Connor? I kept my head bowed, not answering. Immediately her voice rang out again. And another thing, why did you sell both the old house and all the gifts I gave you? What are you planning? Who do you think you are to do something like that? Hearing that, my heart seized again. I hadn't expected Vivian to discover it so quickly. After fumbling for a while, I finally came up with a reason to cover it up. I just felt those things weren't necessary anymore. No use keeping them around, so I sold them. Such a clumsy excuse. Vivian didn't believe it for a second. But just as she was about to keep questioning me, her phone rang. She pulled it out to look. It was a call from Connor. Vivian no longer had the mind to continue interrogating me. Rushing out the door, I watched her retreating figure, not knowing whether I should feel disappointed or relieved, because now all of Vivian's attention was focused on Connor, so I could quietly carry out my plan. The next morning, after washing my face, I came downstairs, and Assistant Chen handed me a gold card. Young master, this is from Director Lane. She told me to give it to you. Before I could refuse, he'd already placed the card in my hand. Then left the villa, leaving me standing there staring at the card. In the end, I still took that card, but didn't put it away. Instead, placing it together with the card I was planning to return to Vivian. To return them both at once later, just waiting for the right moment to give them back to her. I didn't use that card, and didn't stop working my extra jobs, because my tuition still wasn't enough. The only difference was this time, I hid it from Vivian when I went. During that entire time, she was busy taking care of Connor, leaving early and coming home late, which gave me enough time to handle my own affairs. A week later, one evening, I was getting ready to go to a class reunion, just leaving the villa, when I ran into Vivian and Connor both coming home. The two of them. Where are you going this late? Hearing her ask, I didn't hide it. Class reunion. Vivian reflexively started to object, but Connor immediately stepped in to mediate. Kids need their own social lives. What could possibly happen with classmates? If you're not comfortable, we can just go with him. Hearing Connor's suggestion, Vivian nodded slightly. If you want to go, then we'll come along. A bunch of kids staying out late, what would that look like? Reluctantly, I brought them along. The moment I stepped into the private room, my two best friends immediately swarmed around me. Ethan, congratulations. I heard you got into Stanford. My friend's congratulations weren't even finished when I hurriedly cut them off. Which schools did you guys get into? Seeing me shake my head slightly, my friends looked a bit confused, but still answered my question first. Our scores weren't that high, so we decided to stay in the city. Chose a university here locally. What about me? I can only follow my parents' arrangements. Going abroad to study for now. I threw my arms around both of them and stepped into the private room, reflexively glancing back at Vivian. Her eyes cold as ice, staring at me without a word. That look, I couldn't tell whether she'd heard what my friends said. Could only silently hope she hadn't heard clearly. Seeing me look over, Vivian still said nothing in the end. The moment we entered the private room, she spoke first. This meal tonight is on me. Those words immediately sparked cheers. Ethan, your sister-in-law is gorgeous and so cool. I pray I get a sister-in-law like that too. Praise like that kept coming. If this were before, I definitely would have been so proud. As if they were praising me directly. And I'd have added, my sister-in-law is the best, most beautiful person in the world. But now I just smiled faintly, saying nothing more. During the gathering, maybe because that stunning couple was too captivating. Or maybe because Vivian and Connor were truly so affectionate. All my classmates' attention poured toward them. At the party, everyone looked envious. Ethan, your sister-in-law is so good to her boyfriend. I'm so jealous, I want someone like that too. Your sister-in-law is a total goddess. Me too, everyone chimed in. But I don't know which comment made Vivian's expression change. Suddenly her face darkened. At your age, you shouldn't be thinking about finding someone like me. You should look for people your own age instead. After saying that, her eyes either unconsciously or deliberately glanced at me. The atmosphere in the room seemed to freeze. I understood exactly what her eyes meant, but still said nothing. Taking the initiative to smooth things over, sister-in-law. They're just here to have fun with me. No need to take it seriously. Let's just enjoy ourselves. The screen up front was still playing music. Hearing that, everyone gradually chimed in. Right. This first song is one I picked. Haven't learned any new ones lately. So I just chose an old one I already know. Unrequited love is a one-person thing. I held the mic and sang along to the melody, my voice carrying a tinge of melancholy. After finishing the song, everyone couldn't help but praise me. Ethan, you sing really well. You even conveyed the heartbreak of unrequited love. When asked about unrequited love, Ethan, you've graduated anyway. Why don't you confess to the person you like? Otherwise, who knows when you'll see them again? You'll regret it if you miss your chance. Reflexively I glanced at Vivian. Then quickly looked away, shaking my head. I don't like anyone. But my words didn't convince them. On the contrary, it made everyone gossip even more. How can you not like anyone? Back then after school you were always sketching. I saw you drawing a girl. Yes. I also saw you writing love letters. Even my desk mate ran over to join in. Everyone teased me, telling me not to be embarrassed. I even saw in your notebook. You'd written that person's name everywhere. I was about to look but you ran away faster than anyone in class. They'd had a bit too much to drink and were getting rowdier. Cheering and demanding I confess right then and there. They even started fighting over my phone. I frantically clutched my phone tight. Right at that moment Vivian suddenly stood up, leaving behind one sentence. I have something to do, leaving first. Then she led Connor out of the room. Seeing her leave, I finally breathed a quiet sigh of relief. But my classmates had already grabbed my phone and called the number pinned at the top of my contacts. I quickly snatched the phone back, about to explain, but before I could even speak, Vivian Lane's low, cold voice came through. Ethan, I will never like you in this lifetime. Immediately after, the phone rang with the beeping sound of a disconnected call. Following those words, the entire room immediately fell into deathly silence. Everyone wearing expressions of embarrassment and regret. Finally my best friend spoke first. Our Ethan is so wonderful. If she doesn't like you, it's because she's blind. That's right. Hearing my friend's consoling murmurs, I just lowered my head and smiled. It's okay. I've already decided. I won't like her anymore. After that class reunion, I didn't see Vivian Lane again until the next time, which was the Lane Corporation's anniversary gala. But even when the party ended, we still hadn't spoken a single word to each other. As guests gradually left, Vivian finally led Connor over to where I sat alone in the corner. She said she still had some things to handle, so the driver would take me home first. I nodded slightly, following behind the two of them, got in the car and sat in silence, not saying a word, listening to Connor and Vivian's lingering goodbye. When the car started rolling, I finally pulled my gaze back inside the vehicle. Seeing Vivian had already walked away, Connor casually asked, Ethan, is there someone you like? At your age, having a crush is perfectly normal. Tell me about it. Connor stared at me, as if unless I answered, he would just keep asking. Reluctantly, I shook my head. Seeing me shake my head, in Connor's eyes, was nothing but disbelief. He continued, "Really no one? Then do you need me to introduce you to a girlfriend?" "No thanks," I immediately refused. Without hesitation. I truly didn't think that between us now, he had any right to interfere in my love life. But the very next second, Connor laughed. "Really don't need it. Is it? You're hiding someone in your heart you don't dare mention. Ethan, you've got some nerve. Having such filthy thoughts about your own sister-in-law. I wonder if your parents, underground, would regret having a son like you." Connor kept smiling gently, but his eyes blazed with clear malice. Through his words sharp as thorns. My face went deathly pale. I wanted to explain, wanted to refute what he was saying. But at that very moment, a deafening screech of brakes rang out. My body lurched forward from the inertia. Both of us pitched forward simultaneously, then snapped back by our seatbelts. Connor, furious, lifted his head, about to question what kind of driving this was. But the moment he looked up, he saw a out-of-control truck barreling straight toward us. The driver frantically swerved to dodge, but used too much force and crashed into the guardrail. Just a thunderous crash. The car flipped and slammed to the ground. Connor and I, from that violent impact, immediately lost consciousness. When I still had a shred of awareness, everything before my eyes was the color of blood. My body had been placed on a stretcher and wheeled into the hospital. Through my blurred vision, I seemed to see Vivian. For the first time on her face, a look of unprecedented panic. I saw the doctor standing trembling before her, saying, "Ms. Lane, we've called in the most renowned Professor Raphael. But he can't perform both surgeries simultaneously. You need to decide who should be saved first." Vivian's voice rang out, low and heavy. "What risk does the person operated on second face?" The doctor's voice was full of difficulty. Both patients were impaled by metal rods. The one operated on later could be permanently disabled. Hearing that, Vivian fell silent for a very long time. So long that just as I was about to pass out again, I finally heard her answer, "Save Connor first." After saying that, she immediately followed, as Connor was wheeled into the operating room, until he completely vanished from my sight, never once looking back at me before I passed out. A tear fell from the corner of my eye. I dreamed a very long dream. In it, all images of Vivian Lane. She had loved me for a full 10 years. When I was bullied by classmates, she was willing to drop everything to stand up and protect me, never letting me suffer any injustice. I often had nightmares at night. Trembling endlessly, she would come to my room to comfort me, repeating those words, "Don't be afraid. Your sister-in-law is here." Once I was hit by a car crossing the street. She immediately ran to catch me. At that moment I was so happy. Sister-in-law came so fast, her eyes full of tenderness as she said, "Because Ethan is the most important person to your sister-in-law." But now, that same person, faced with choosing between two, had completely abandoned me. I'm saving Connor first. Now he's the most important person to her. "Sister-in-law, I'm no longer your only one." I don't know how long I'd been unconscious. When I woke up, the person beside me was just a nurse. Seeing me awake, the nurse was delighted. "You're finally awake. The man who came in with you woke up long ago. Only you still hadn't come to." I moved my hands and feet slightly, felt pain, but still had sensation. I immediately breathed a sigh of relief. I'm not disabled. Wasn't I abandoned though? Hearing that, the nurse looked frightened too. "That's right. Just a little bit more. You would have lost that leg. Lucky a skilled doctor arrived in time. And you pulled through." My eyes immediately reddened. All I could think was, "Thank God my leg is still there." Suddenly I remembered something, and asked, "What about Vivian Lane?" The nurse didn't hide it, telling me straight, her voice carrying a hint of envy. "Ms. Lane has been in the room next door the whole time, staying by that man's side constantly. I heard those two are engaged. Truly a loving couple. Do you need me to call Ms. Lane to help you?" I was silent for a moment, then shook my head. "No need. Never again." During my time in the hospital, Vivian never came to visit me once. And I never asked about her either. Until the day I was preparing to be discharged. Vivian finally called. I've been so busy lately. So I couldn't come visit you. I heard you're being discharged today. I'll have the assistant take you home in a bit. I just hummed once and said nothing more. But Vivian still hadn't hung up. I thought she had something else to say. So I waited for her to speak. But after a few seconds of hesitation, she only asked about my condition. How's your recovery? I answered, I'm all fine now. You can rest easy and take care of. Connor, don't worry about me. Hearing my response, Vivian seemed like she wanted to explain something. I didn't. But from the other end of the line, the sound of disconnection had already rung out. 3 days before leaving the city, I'd already finished packing all my belongings. Right then Vivian came home. She looked at the bags large and small on the floor. Couldn't help but ask, why are you packing? I placed the last item in my suitcase. My voice calm. School starts in 3 days. So I'm packing ahead to be organized. Hearing that, Vivian's expression flickered with alarm. Rarely asking another question. Do you need to bring so much for school? I nodded. Yeah. Bringing everything at once is convenient. Saves trouble later. I didn't pay much attention to her questions. Just arranged the luggage neatly in the corner of the room. Then turned back to look at her sister-in-law. Before school starts, can you have a meal with me? I want to cook you dinner. Such a simple request. But Vivian didn't immediately agree. She hesitated for a moment, then said, we can eat anytime. You're going to college right here in the city. Later I'll also move to live near the school. No need to rush like this. I looked into her eyes, seeing in them a determination I hadn't seen in a long time. Just this once. One time is enough. She raised me for 5 full years. I want to cook her one meal. As a final goodbye, Vivian looked at me, finally relenting. Whatever you want. From that day on, I was busy handling many final matters. Had no time to notice what Vivian was doing. Until the day school started, I spent half the day cooking a full, proper meal. Then sat waiting at the dining table for Vivian to come home. Time kept passing. Vivian still hadn't returned. Watching the dining table grow cold, I called her. But 1 call, then 2. Still no one answered. Just as I was about to put down the phone, it suddenly chimed with a ting. A message notification. I opened it to see a message Connor had sent. Every word dripping with provocation. Stop waiting, check my profile. I froze, switching to the profile interface, and saw the newest photo Connor had just posted. In the photo, the person who had promised to come home and eat with me, Vivian Lane, was sitting beside Connor. Looking at the background, it appeared to be a romantic French restaurant. In the photo were fresh flowers, balloons, steaks. Anyone looking would have to exclaim, what a perfect couple. But in the end he still couldn't do it. I stared at that post for a very long time. Finally just quietly clicked like. Then exited. Deleted Connor as a friend. Deleted Vivian as a friend too. Then logged out of my Instagram account. All done in one breath. After finishing everything, I removed my phone's SIM card, snapped it in half and tossed it in the trash. Finally, I took out the bank card I'd prepared long ago to return to Vivian, along with the gold card she'd given me later. Placed both in the most visible spot in the living room. Then set a note on top. Leaving final words, sister-in-law. I'm letting go of these feelings now. I took 999 steps toward you. I have no regrets, I hope you don't either. After writing that last line, I looked back at the villa where I'd lived for 10 years. Then pulled my suitcase and walked out. Caught a car straight to the airport, never looking back. Vivian Lane. From now on I'll step into a new life without you. Vivian Lane returned on the morning of the 3rd day. Sitting in the car, still reminding Assistant Chen to bring a box of gifts. Assistant Chen, please take all the model sets I bought before and deliver them to the villa. Assistant Chen replied yes, hung up and immediately went to prepare. The moment Vivian stepped into the villa, walking past the dining room, she immediately saw on the table a full meal still uncleared. Looking at the arrangement, These were dishes that had been sitting there for 2 full days and nights, no longer bearing any trace of their initial deliciousness, and emanating an unpleasant smell. She didn't understand why. In that moment she froze. For an instant, as if she truly saw me stubbornly sitting and waiting at the dining table. But in the end, this meal was just like the person who'd made it, unable to wait for the one they wanted to invite. A sour ache suddenly welled up inside her. But finally she still walked out of the dining room, called the housekeeper responsible for cleaning, telling them to clear all that food away immediately. Unconsciously she called my name, Ethan. But this time no one answered back. She paused slightly, then remembered. By now I must already be at school. Vivian rubbed her temples, sat down on the living room sofa, casually glancing over, and saw in the most visible spot 2 bank cards and a note. She picked up the note, but when she read the contents, she completely froze. I'm letting go now. What did that mean? She didn't understand why. Vivian's heart suddenly surged with panic. She grabbed her phone, calling the number so familiar she could dial it with her eyes closed. But in the end, she only heard a robotic female voice, speaking without emotion. The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. She stood there stunned, then opened my chat window and messaged, "Where are you?" But what greeted her was only a red exclamation mark. An indescribable fury immediately shot straight to her head. She hurled the phone forward. "So you've grown wings now? Dare to play the game of cutting contact with me?" She picked up the phone, grabbed her keys, and furiously rushed out of the villa. But the moment she stepped outside, she ran into Assistant Shen carrying a gift box inside. Seeing Vivian's expression at that moment, Assistant Shen froze in place. Assistant Shen hesitantly stepped forward to ask Director, "Should I bring this model set back?" A voice full of rage escaped her mouth. But when she saw Assistant Shen actually preparing to take the models back, about to turn around, she called Assistant Shen back. "Wait. Give me the model set. You can go back on your own." Her face black as ink made Assistant Shen not dare ask anything more. After handing over the items, she hurriedly left the villa. Even after leaving the villa grounds, while Vivian drove like mad to the apartment near Columbia, storming in determined to find me and demand answers. But stepping into the room, she realized there wasn't a trace of anyone having lived there. Immediately Vivian was so furious she laughed. "So you really have grown wings?" Deleted all contact and vanished. "Now you won't even stay at my place. I want to see where else you can possibly hide." When Vivian arrived at Columbia's principal's office, it was right at lunch break. She donated an entire laboratory building in exchange for finding out what class 1 was in and where I was living. After searching nearly the entire afternoon, the principal wiped sweat from his brow, finally just shaking his head at Vivian. "Director Lane, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but I truly don't have his file. This can only prove he didn't register at our school and isn't studying here." Hearing this, Vivian was stunned. She suddenly remembered the note I'd left at the end. I said I'd let go. But 2 months ago, when she asked if I'd registered at Columbia, she hadn't paid attention to my forced expression. Only now did something dawn on her. So I'd started lying to her from that moment. So the letting go I mentioned meant letting go of liking her. Disappearing from her world, Vivian collapsed into a chair, not knowing what to say. The Columbia principal, seeing the melancholy aura radiating from her entire being, carefully probed, "Director Lane, the laboratory building you promised. That still counts, right?" She stood up like a machine, waving off the principal who was about to chase after her. "That building, I'll have someone handle it in the next few days." Leaving Columbia's campus, Vivian suddenly felt an emptiness inside. Clearly registering at Columbia was a promise between us. I had worked so hard studying, just so my scores could get closer to Columbia, so I could stay in the city, stay by her side. But why had I suddenly changed like this? Could I have truly decided to give her up? Thinking of that possibility, clearly she should feel relieved, because the goal was finally achieved. But right now Vivian couldn't feel happy at all. She still didn't want to believe. The person who'd once stubbornly said he liked her personality Who'd said he wanted to stay by her side forever? Was me with those eyes full of light. Could let go so easily. She was certain I was lying to her. Just to make her lower her guard. And then I'd bring back those buried feelings. And return. It had to be that. Hope ignited again in her eyes. Then, as if remembering something, she frantically searched for her phone and dialed another number. Even though I'd quietly changed my college choice, someone would know where I'd gone. If I wasn't studying at Columbia, Mr. Lee, do you know which school Ethan finally registered at? The homeroom teacher's voice, full of confusion, came through from the other end. He registered at Stanford. I thought he'd already told you. Hearing that, Vivian froze. Stanford. In the end, I chose a school so far away. Determined to go all the way to Stanford. Thinking of this, her heart surged with irritation. Didn't I tell you all to make sure he registered at Columbia? He changed his choice on his own. And none of you reported back to me, hearing Vivian's interrogating tone. The homeroom teacher laughed a few times. Then repeated the words I'd once said to him. At the time he said he'd grown up. Wanted to decide for himself. Told me not to tell you. I thought you two had a fight. And once you both cooled down he'd tell you himself. Hearing that, Vivian suddenly choked up. A fight. Isn't that exactly what's happening now? But even now she still didn't know what reason I had for suddenly disappearing. But having learned where I was, Vivian didn't want to say more. Decisively hung up. Then immediately called Assistant Chen. Book me a flight to Anchorage. The sooner the better. Hearing the destination, Assistant Chen was a bit surprised. But Director, tomorrow morning you have a meeting. Assistant Chen's words weren't even finished when Vivian irritably cut her off. If there's a meeting, reschedule it. Just book the flight first. Don't interfere with anything else. Not long after hanging up, Vivian received the flight information to Anchorage. Departure time was 2 hours away. She didn't hesitate any longer. Got in the car straight to the airport. By the time she landed in Anchorage it was already 10 at night. She caught a taxi, and when she arrived at Stanford, it was already 11 at night. Looking at her watch for a moment, in the end she still didn't choose to look for me right away. But instead, found a hotel near campus to rest first. 11 at night, even if she found me, I should already be asleep. So waiting until tomorrow would be better. I should already be asleep. So waiting until tomorrow would be better. That night, Vivian tossed and turned on the hotel bed, unable to sleep no matter what. She kept her eyes open watching time slowly pass. Until 7 the next morning. Bought breakfast then went straight to Stanford. Once again using the same method to find out my class and dorm. Then went straight to the dorm to intercept me. Right now students had just finished morning study session. Time to eat breakfast then return to their rooms. But I'd never liked eating breakfast. Without her watching me, I definitely wouldn't eat properly. So she specifically brought breakfast to see me. Right now many students were returning to the dorm. A mature, elegantly dressed woman, carrying breakfast, standing below the men's dorm like her was far too eye-catching. Everyone passing by kept staring at her with curious eyes. I'd just finished breakfast at the cafeteria and was heading back to the dorm. The scene I saw was Vivian, surrounded by a crowd of students. At first, because my view was blocked, I didn't recognize it was her at all. About to head straight to my room. But because my roommate was too curious, insisting on dragging me over to see the commotion, and once I got closer, I saw Vivian, the person I thought I'd never see again. Seeing it was her, I reflexively wanted to retreat. Who knew she'd already spotted me? Seeing me turn to leave. Who knew she'd already spotted me? Seeing me turn to leave. She couldn't help but raise her voice. Little Ethan, wait. Vivian thought that hearing her voice I would stop. Who knew the moment she finished speaking, my steps only quickened. The people with me looked a bit confused, glancing back and forth. Seeing me practically running away, they also hurried to chase after me. Reluctantly, Vivian could only extricate herself from the crowd and chase after us. Finally, right as I was about to step into the dorm, she grabbed my arm. Why are you running? Being held back, I couldn't continue. I was a bit helpless, but in the end still had to give in. said goodbye to my roommates. Told them to go ahead first, then I turned around. Facing Vivian, softly calling her once. Seeing me finally stop, but still refusing to look at her. Vivian was so furious she laughed. You still know I'm your sister. Changing your college choice on your own and running to such a distant place. And leaving me 2 cards and an incomprehensible note. Your wings are strong now, aren't they? Want to fly away on your own, is that it? But what surprised her most was that after she finished that whole tirade, I nodded. Her expression immediately darkened. What do you mean by that? Only then did I look straight into her eyes. Miss Lane, I'm very grateful for these 5 years that you raised me. Also grateful that for 5 years you've been so tolerant of me. No matter what I did wrong, you never blamed me. I have nothing to repay you with. So I sold the old house my parents left behind. And all the gifts you gave me. I sold everything for money. It's all in the card I left behind. And the gold card you gave me later, I never used. That's all I can return to you. Before, I was childish. Caused you so much trouble. Especially after I confessed my feelings. I brought you no small amount of complications. But I've let go now, Miss Lane. You can rest assured, I've grown up. From now on I'll take care of myself. Won't trouble you anymore. Word by word, sentence by sentence, I spoke very clearly. Like each word was a hammer blow. Striking hard against her heart. She only felt her mind tangled in chaos. The hand-holding mind suddenly tightened. Repeating the question over and over, what do you mean? I dodged her hand. Miss Lane, I think I've made myself very clear. What I mean is from today on, I won't call you sister anymore. And between us there's no relationship left. As for what you've always worried about, that I'd keep clinging to you. That won't happen anymore either. Miss Lane, I won't like you anymore. After saying that, I didn't look at her reaction. Turned to leave. Who knew she acted like she hadn't heard me? And called out, Ethan. As if she hadn't heard my words. She continued calling, Ethan. This is the breakfast I brought you. I know you definitely wouldn't eat breakfast. So I brought it on purpose. Vivian held the packaged food out in front of me. Her eyes hiding both hope and pleading. I truly didn't understand why she'd become like this. But I thought for a moment. And still shook my head. No need. I already ate. I broke that bad habit of skipping breakfast long ago. You should eat this yourself. After saying that I turned and left. I didn't stop at all. Just got back to the dorm. When my roommates surrounded me. Ethan, who was that person downstairs? I didn't hide it. Told them straight about our relationship. My late brother's fiancé. And my guardian for the past 5 years. But after hearing that, they were even more confused. Then why did you avoid her? I forced a smile. But didn't say anything more. Just simply explained. Because from now on we won't have any connection. The moment those words left my mouth, my roommates immediately laughed, apologizing profusely. I shook my head again. It's fine. You were just concerned about me. Morning break time isn't long. And I'd been stuck downstairs for quite a while. I'd only just sat down to rest when it was nearly 9. They had class first thing in the morning. Everyone hurriedly got ready and headed downstairs, running to the lecture hall. When we got down there, Vivian was still standing dazed below the dorm. But the crowd around her had mostly dispersed. Only a few newcomers were trying to strike up conversation with her. She was beautiful, and a few male students wanted to get to know her. As I walked past, one male student gathered his courage and stepped forward. He held up his phone. You're beautiful. Could I get your contact information? But whether Vivian agreed or not, I didn't see, because I was busy getting to class, had no time to care. But her gaze, from the moment I appeared, had been fixated on me. She didn't immediately refuse, because she wanted to see whether I truly didn't like her anymore. In the end, my steps never once slowed. Vivian dejectedly realized I truly didn't like her anymore. Clearly this was the answer she'd waited 2 years for, which was why she deliberately got close to other men, deliberately showed affection with Connor in front of me, and constantly said harsh words to me. That she would never like me in this lifetime. Now that wish had come true. But why didn't her heart feel happy at all? On the contrary, it hurt so much. She couldn't find the reason. And no longer had the mind to deal with that male student. Just quietly walked out through the campus gate. Just after leaving Stanford's gate, the phone in her bag suddenly rang. She pulled it out to look. It was Connor. Before, she'd abandoned me many times for Connor. But now that I'd truly given her up, she no longer had any interest in seeing Connor. The phone rang over and over. She still didn't answer. Just let the call automatically disconnect, then ring again. Until the other side lost patience and stopped calling. Vivian hadn't planned to return so soon. But after only 2 days in Anchorage, she was called back by old Mr. Lane. She rushed back to the Lane family home. The moment she stepped through the door, she saw Connor sitting beside Mrs. Lane. She frowned slightly. Calling me back so urgently. What's going on? Vivian dear, you're all grown up now. You should start thinking about marriage. Mrs. Lane had just called her to sit down, when she brought up what she wanted to avoid most. Connor is such a good boy. And he's the fiancé you chose yourself. Mother thinks the 10th of next month is a good day, why not? Just go ahead and have the wedding. Vivian Lane and Connor would hold their wedding on the 10th of next month. The news of the wedding hit the trending searches at noon the next day. I saw Vivian again, looking haggard from the long journey. On the evening of the 3rd day. Actually, I didn't want to see her. Couldn't understand even more why after I'd left, which was clearly what she wanted, and I'd already given her the answer she desired, why she still kept lingering endlessly. But she stubbornly stood below the dorm. The crowd of onlookers growing larger, until the dorm supervisor couldn't stand it anymore, had to disperse the crowd, and chased Vivian away no less than 5 times. The sky gradually darkened. Finally, students went up to their rooms to rest. But no matter how many times Vivian was chased away, she wouldn't leave. The supervisor saw she wouldn't listen, and helplessly let her be. She stood downstairs until 10 at night. In the room, Wong looked down from the window ledge, then turned to nudge my shoulder. She's still down there. I didn't bother looking up. If she wants to wait, let her wait. I didn't make her stand there. After that, I focused all my attention on the computer screen, looking at the clubs I was interested in. Finally, I chose the drama club. By now it was already 10:40. Wong went to wash his face first. I walked to the window and looked down. The sky had darkened, but the streetlights below were still bright, as if reminding me Vivian still hadn't left. Looking at that stubborn figure, I sighed softly, and finally went downstairs. What are you doing here again? A familiar voice rang out by her ear. Vivian's eyes lit up, but hearing my words, that light immediately extinguished. Ethan, does it really have to be like this between us? I answered bluntly. The Lane family doesn't lack descendants. You don't need me to stay by your side. But you know full well I like you. Even though I've decided to let go now. But if I keep staying by your side, I won't be able to cut off these feelings. Isn't this what you've always wanted? I blocked every reason she could possibly think of. She was silent for a long time, finally only managing one weak sentence. Your grandparents, they also really hope to have a grandchild nearby to talk to. Hearing that, I couldn't help but laugh. If that's what your grandparents told you, then they probably just want grandchildren to hold. I heard you're getting married soon. Probably won't be much longer. Mentioning that wedding, only then did Vivian remember what her purpose in coming here was. Ethan, listen to me. I don't want to marry Connor. Those sudden words made me freeze. It took me a while to understand what she meant. I looked down at her, a mocking smile appearing on my face. Miss Lane, if you don't want to get married, you should tell your fiancé, not me. After all, your wedding has never been something I should worry about. I vaguely sensed what she was thinking, but I didn't say it. Once I've made a decision, I won't turn back. I don't love you anymore. And I won't come back to you either. Miss Lane, please go back. Your fiancé and family are still waiting for you in the present. After saying that, I didn't linger anymore, turned and headed upstairs. But Vivian still couldn't help asking one more question. Ethan, Can't we really go back to how things were? My voice carried a hint of pain. Which time do you want to go back to? When I still loved you. But you kept pushing me away. Had to force myself to eat spicy food I couldn't handle. Had to walk miles home alone. Had to be the first one abandoned when I was injured. Each of my accusations like hammer blows straight to her heart, making the blood in her veins boil. She kept shaking her head, repeating 3 words over and over. That's not it. I laughed coldly. Or go back even earlier. When you treated me so well I drowned in that tenderness. But had to suppress my own feelings. Couldn't love and couldn't ask. Vivian Lane, don't you see how cruel you've been? Isn't it better this way now? I've listened to you. Given up my feelings for you. Only by leaving you can I stop being hurt by you. No longer having to force myself for someone else's preferences. No longer being abandoned by you for someone else. All love, someone my own age. Live a normal life. Isn't that better? Only at this moment, when I stepped closer to her, showing her the messages that had been coming day after day on my phone. The messages Connor deliberately sent to provoke me. The photos and everything that had happened between them. And recounting everything he'd done just to make me give up. Only then did Vivian truly understand how cruel everything had been to me. I didn't know. Ethan, I didn't know he did those things. Didn't know you were hurting so much. Pleading appeared in her eyes. But there was no more sadness in mine. After saying everything in my heart, I only felt incredibly relieved. No longer the pain I'd once felt. Vivian Lane, you still don't understand why you came looking for me. Wait until you truly understand clearly what your purpose in finding me is. What kind of answer you want. Come find me then. I stared straight at Vivian. After saying that, I turned and went upstairs. This time Vivian didn't chase after me. Nor did she stay. The next morning I was woken by my alarm. Called Wong up first. Then got out of bed to quickly wash my face. Waited for Wong to finish and we left together. Leaving the dorm, I no longer saw Vivian anywhere. Perhaps she'd already left, I didn't really care. Just glanced over once. Not seeing anyone, I withdrew my gaze. Just hoping this time after she left, she wouldn't come disturb my life again. Morning class was self-study. No instructor supervising. Went to bed late last night. Both Wong and I didn't get enough sleep. So we collapsed on our desks to catch some rest. By the end of class we'd both slept enough. We're completely awake now. We had no morning classes. But since we'd agreed to register for the drama club, Wong and I finished breakfast. Then headed to the drama club's booth. School had only just started recently. All the clubs were recruiting. There was even a special street set up. Clubs arranged their booths to recruit members. Seeing underclassmen approaching, the upperclassmen in charge of recruiting new members were all very enthusiastic. Shouting non-stop, the basketball club started calling out. Basketball club is recruiting members. Any underclassmen want to come check it out. The anime club is recruiting. Look at these beautiful models. Look at these brand new cosplay outfits. Just join the anime club and you'll have a chance to own them. Do you guys want to join the drama club? Full of gorgeous people. Do you want to join student government? You'll develop yourself and earn extra credit points. Wong and I had already set our target. Heading straight for the drama club. Writing our names on the registration form. The upperclassman in charge of recruitment saw us. Immediately noticing 2 people arriving together. Smiled with her eyes crinkling. 2 handsome guys like you. Joining the drama club is definitely the right choice. Wong pulled me. Looking at the upperclassmen sitting by the drama club booth. Every single one stunningly beautiful. He giggled, then moved closer to that girl. Hey. Are all our club members this beautiful? Can we pursue them? The girl raised her head proudly, patting her chest to guarantee everyone's beautiful. But if you want to pursue someone, that still depends on fate. Wong nodded knowingly. He caught the implicit meaning that guys could pursue girls. But didn't see any problem with that. Beautiful people are just like that. But working hard for a pretty girl is worth it. A week later, after Wong and I finished our last afternoon class, on the way back to the dorm, we received a message in the club group chat, saying this year's recruitment had ended. To welcome the new members, Tonight everyone would gather for a meal. The location was near campus. Because quite a few people were attending, they'd reserved a private room. Wang and I arrived neither early nor late. When we stepped into the room, some people had already arrived. I immediately saw the girl who'd been in charge of recruitment before, and took the initiative to greet her. Zhang Qin remembered Wang and me quite clearly. Seeing us arrive, she smiled and started introducing us. My name is Zhang Qin. I'm the president of the drama club. And this is the vice president. Her name is Yi Jiwei. Just a reminder, she's still single. That last comment was clearly emphasized. Her name is Yi Jiwei. Just a reminder, she's still single. Saying that, she looked over at Wang, clearly speaking to Wang. Obviously Zhang Qin still remembered from before, when Wang asked if the girls in the club could be pursued. But Wang's gaze was directed at Yi Jiwei, his eyes showing a mischievous smile. He immediately extended his hand to greet her. Hello Yi. My name is Wang. Yi Jiwei politely nodded, shook Wang's hand, then immediately withdrew. Her gaze then fell on me. My ears turned a bit red. I also extended my hand, speaking up to greet her. Hello. If you don't mind, you can call me Jiwei. I was a bit flustered by Yi Jiwei's unexpected friendliness, not knowing how to react. When Wang came to my rescue, Jiwei. Then can I call you Jiwei too? Yi Jiwei nodded lightly, her face flushing slightly. Didn't answer that question, but in the end it counted as agreement. 10 minutes later, everyone had arrived. After sitting at the dining table, everyone suddenly noticed an extra chair, surprising them all. Zhang Qin had stood up, coughed lightly once, acting mysterious. Our party tonight has an additional mystery guest. From today on, this person will be our club's investor. Will be fully responsible for all the club's activities. Of course that includes today's meal too. Hearing this, everyone immediately cheered happily. Only I didn't understand why. My heart had a strange premonition. This mysterious person was very likely someone I knew. And when Vivian Lane walked in wearing a high-end dress, that premonition became reality. I momentarily didn't know what to say. Vivian stepped into the room, reflexively wanting to go toward me. But everyone was already seated. The only empty chair was at the head of the table, and beside me someone was already sitting. She recognized both of those people. One was my roommate. One was the vice president of the drama club. Her heart felt a bit chaotic, wanting to ask Yi Jiwei to give up her seat, but couldn't think of what reason to use. She looked at me. Hoping I would take the initiative to suggest it. But aside from the single glance when she first entered, I didn't look at her again. After struggling for a moment, she had to sit in the position prepared beforehand. Though it was just an instant, Yi Jiwei still keenly caught Vivian's gaze. She was looking, as she gently poured me a glass of fruit juice, using the motion of passing the glass to lean closer to me, asking softly, "Do you know the investor?" I answered very firmly, "No." But clearly, Yi Jiwei didn't believe that answer. After everyone arrived, the dishes also started being served. Yi Jiwei was very attentive, always paying attention to my thoughts and actions, taking care of me bit by bit, serving food and pouring water. Though I kept declining, she still kept doing it. The veteran club members had never seen this gentle side of Yi Jiwei. Couldn't help but tease her. Wang also deliberately interrupted several times. Yi Jiwei just gently prepared another portion for Wang. Her tender attentiveness almost made me think she was naturally like this, until another male student approached with a drink, wanting to get to know her. She showed a completely businesslike, courteous attitude. Nothing like how she treated me. Only then did I startle and realize, so that gentleness was reserved only for me. Wang also noticed Yi Jiwei's attitude. Couldn't help but lean closer to me. Turns out I'm just getting the benefits too. Though he spoke quietly, still couldn't hide the teasing in his words. I was busy dealing with Wang's teasing and Yi Jiwei's attentiveness, so didn't notice at all that Vivian had been silent the whole time. She kept looking in my direction. Wang noticed, but said nothing, just glanced at her once. Yi Jiahui also sensed it. So she smiled even more gently, blocking her view entirely. What hurt Vivian most was that I didn't refuse Yi Jiahui's closeness at all. She was like torturing herself watching the entire party. I didn't refuse Yi Jiahui's closeness at all. She was like torturing herself watching the entire party, constantly tormenting herself. When Zhang Qin suggested moving to KTV, she followed along too. Zhang Qin suggested moving to KTV, she followed along too. Arriving at the reserved private room, Vivian was again a step too slow. Still couldn't claim the seat beside me. In the end, could only sit alone in the corner of the room, watching me chat and laugh with others. Before long it was my turn to sing. This time a romantic ballad. I picked up the microphone, my expression serious, singing along with the melody. The moment I started singing, Wang couldn't help but cry out, "Ethan, just how many surprises do you have that I don't know about?" Hearing Wang speak, I curved the corner of my mouth slightly. At the very next moment, a melodious voice rang out beside me, harmonizing with the melody, singing a duet with me. I turned around stunned to see Yi Jiahui, that gentle face carrying a smile. In the corner, Vivian looked at the smile on my face and found it somewhat blinding. The chemistry between me and her made her throat tighten even more. She carefully recalled, "It seemed I hadn't smiled like that in a very long time. From when I was 16. She discovered the feelings I'd been hiding. From shock to fury, without hesitation tearing apart that final thin veil, wanting to force me to give up those feelings. But I was stubbornly beyond expectation, refusing to let go. All the times after that, each time I approached her I was so careful, afraid of upsetting her, not allowed to follow beside her. Yet even so, she still always faced me with a cold expression. Vivian thought that would crush my feelings. Yet I persisted for 2 whole years. And during those 2 years, she'd never seen me smile a genuine smile again, from deep in her heart. Now she hoped I would leave her side like this, so I could start moving toward someone else. But she felt regret. One song ended. Yi Jiahui and I were much more natural together, no longer constrained like during dinner. "Can I add you as a contact?" Another girl's voice rang out at an inopportune moment. I turned to look. It was a veteran member of the drama club. I didn't refuse either. After all, we were clubmates. Exchanging contacts was convenient for work. Exchanging contacts was convenient for keeping in touch. The gathering lasted until nearly 9 at night before ending. Before leaving, I went to the restroom briefly. When I stepped out, I saw Vivian waiting outside. I paused, but had no intention of talking to her, preparing to walk right past and leave. But she grabbed my hand. "Ethan, I regret it." Reluctantly I turned to look at her. I pulled my hand from hers, my eyes showing none of the joy she'd expected. "So what?" Vivian tried hard to suppress the bitterness in her heart, explaining, "Ethan, I've broken off the engagement with Connor. Before, I was too cowardly, thinking these feelings went against morality, wouldn't be accepted by society. So I forced myself to accept someone else. Forced you to let go of your feelings for me. I thought everything would get back on track that way. But I was wrong." By this point her eyes were full of tears. "I once said, you should like someone your own age. Not me. But now I understand. I can't even wait until you love someone else. You've only just withdrawn your love from me, letting another woman appear by your side. And I'm already so uncomfortable I can't breathe. Ethan, the person I truly love is you. I also can't bear to watch you love someone else. Ethan, can you give me one more chance?" Vivian rarely cried. In my memory, the first time I saw her cry was when I just arrived at the Lane house. She hadn't been good to me from the start. Attentive in every little way like that, she didn't know how to take care of children, and had just taken over the company. So she didn't have much time to pay attention to me. I never expected that living in someone else's home, I'd be so scared I caught a cold. Had a high fever but didn't dare tell her. That night my fever was so high my mind went hazy. I collapsed right in front of her. When she came close to me, she finally felt how abnormally high my body temperature was. Rushed me to the hospital. The doctor said if we'd arrived any later, at best I'd be mentally impaired. At worst I'd lose my life. That time when I woke up, the first person I saw was Vivian with a face full of regret and red-rimmed eyes. And from that moment on, no matter how busy she was, she made time for me. The first person I saw was Vivian with a face full of guilt, red-rimmed eyes. And from that moment on, no matter how busy, she made time to be with me. Tried her best to treat me well. Gave me all her love. Just to tell me, from now on the Lane house was my home. But promises in the end were just empty promises. And now she was crying again. Her voice choking in front of me. Begging me to give her another chance. I looked at her and sighed. The moment Vivian heard her name, she looked up, her eyes full of pleading and hope as she looked at me. But my eyes held only doubt. If you love me, then why, knowing clearly I have stomach problems, just because of something Connor said, did you still force me to eat spicy food I couldn't handle? Why, in the car accident Connor and I had, did you choose to save him? And never even came to visit me once afterward. Do you know what happened before the accident? He said I was delusional for daring to love my sister-in-law. He said my feelings for you were filthy thoughts. Vivian, yet in the end you chose him. The certainty in her eyes gradually crumbled under my two questions. She couldn't answer. Just like Vivian herself right now. Didn't know what mindset she'd had back then to do such things. Even if she wanted me to give up, there were so many other ways. No need to use two methods that hurt me so much. Seeing her silent, I laughed mockingly. You see, even you can't answer. Vivian, do you truly love me? Or are you just used to me always being by your side? My eyes forever holding only you. Now that I've suddenly let go, you're not used to it. That's all. Vivian hurriedly tried to explain. That's not it, Ethan. I truly like you. But the moment those words fell, I'd already turned and left. Still close enough for her to hear me. But my steps never once stopped. Walking a few more steps, I saw Yi Jiahui. Her gaze fell behind me where Vivian was, but very quickly withdrew, turning back to me. Do you need help? I knew what she was referring to. Do you need help? I knew what she was referring to. No need to pay attention to her. We can just head back on our own. Hearing the word, we, in my answer, Yi Jiahui couldn't hide the smile at the corner of her mouth. Nodded and said okay, then I'll take you back. I didn't refuse. Returning to the private room. Only Wang remained there now. Seeing us return, he grabbed Yi Jiahui's bag and stepped forward saying, let's go. The three of us walked farther and farther away. No one looked back. Only Vivian was left behind where she stood, watching the direction they left. Clearly just a few running steps would catch up. Yet Vivian suddenly felt the distance between them was so vast. Even if she used her whole life, she could never close that distance. After returning to the dorm, Wang very tactfully went upstairs first, leaving private space for Yi Jiahui and me. I didn't even have time to stop him. Could only helplessly shrug at Yi Jiahui. Sorry, that's just how Wang is. Yi Jiahui shook her head saying it's fine. She was very understanding. I momentarily didn't know how to respond. When I saw her smile softly, can I call you Ethan? Seeing me nod, she continued, Ethan, can we be friends? I didn't expect her to say that. I was a bit stunned. But then immediately laughed. I thought when you called me Ethan, we were already friends. It's just that I was too slow to understand. Understanding the meaning in my words. Yi Jiahui looked a bit flustered, tucking a few strands of hair behind her shoulder, saying, then let's add each other on Instagram. We were so busy chatting I forgot. I nodded, reflexively about to take out my phone. But reaching into my pocket found it empty, remembering I'd left my phone in the room. Forgot to bring it when going out. Right at that moment Wang came running down breathlessly. Placed the phone precisely in my hand. Then acting like he'd completed his mission, hurried back upstairs. I watched his retreating figure and chuckled. After exchanging contact with Yi Jiahui, I waved at her saying, it's getting late. I'll head up first. You should head back too. After saving Yi Jiahui's contact, I waved at her saying, "It's getting late. I'll head up first. You should head back too." Seeing Yi Jiwei nod, I turned and headed upstairs. But just reaching the landing, I saw 3 people sneaking around, crowded at the corner of the stairwell peeking down. Of the 4-person dorm room, aside from me all 3 had gathered here. I was a bit exasperated. "What are you guys doing here?" Seeing me come up so quickly, they all looked somewhat flustered, looking around to ease the awkwardness. "Oh, these stairs really are stairs. The moon tonight really is round." Wang was still slightly calmer than the others. "I ran too fast earlier. I'm resting a bit," he found some random excuse. At a hotel near Stanford, Vivian sat collapsed on the carpet by the bed, surrounded entirely by empty bottles. Both cheeks flushed red, clearly drunk. But she kept repeating the motions of pouring wine, drinking wine. Later finding pouring too troublesome, she just grabbed the bottle and drank continuously. The phone beside her kept lighting up then going dark. Until she got fed up with the endless ringing, reaching out to grab the phone. But because her vision was blurred, double vision had appeared before her eyes. After several attempts she couldn't grasp it. Finally she got irritated, angrily swung her hand. The phone was violently thrown by her. Just hearing a crash, the ringing immediately disappeared. The world fell silent again. The irritation in her heart gradually subsided. She picked up the wine bottle again, tilted her head back for a drink, but couldn't drink anything. She held the bottle up to look at it then shook it upside down. It was empty. She leaned to the side, lying down on that pile of bottles. "Ethan, I was wrong. Can you forgive me?" she mumbled hazily, her voice already breaking apart. Until she sank into heavy sleep. Vivian dreamed a dream. In the dream, when I was 16 and confessed to her. Though she didn't agree. She didn't refuse as harshly as before either. But just told me I was still young. Didn't know what that decision would bring to me. We made a promise to separate for 2 years. If after 2 years I still liked her, we would meet again after 2 years. If after 2 years I still liked her, we would be together. During those 2 years, though we didn't live together, we still kept in regular contact. Like 2 normal friends. No longer an age gap. No longer bound by the sister-in-law identity. When I was bullied, though she couldn't come in person, she would still send people to handle the trouble and protect me. Until my 18th birthday. I confessed to her again, "Vivian, I've thought it through. I'm not afraid of those things anymore. I still like you so much, can we be together?" This time she didn't refuse. We faced the gossip together. Held hands walking toward our future. So beautiful, but too distant. Seeing her wearing a wedding dress, her face full of happy smiles, joyfully running toward me, for me to embrace, I happily called out, "Vivian, I finally married you." The dream was too beautiful. So when Vivian woke up, before her was only a stark white room, and the person keeping watch by the hospital bed was Mr. Lane. In his eyes still remained an unmistakable disappointment. Seeing Vivian wake up, Mr. Lane's suspended heart finally settled. "Why did you run to such a distant place? And lock yourself in a room drinking until you passed out? Do you know, your mother and I called you endlessly. How worried we were." At this point his eyes reddened again. "You're my only daughter. Do you know when I pushed open the door? And no matter how I called you wouldn't wake. How terrified I was. Do you know? The doctor said you had severe gastric bleeding. Just a little bit later, your life could have been in danger. I was scared to death. Vivian, even if you don't think about yourself, can you think about your parents a little?" Vivian was silent for a very long time. Finally just softly said sorry. "Vivian, come home with us. If you don't want to marry Connor, we won't. Don't use your own body to rebel against us anymore. Okay." Vivian's lips moved wanting to say something, but in the end just weakly nodded. "What meaning is there in staying? He will never forgive you." Vivian lay helplessly on the bed murmuring something, but in the end just weakly nodded. "What meaning is there in staying? He will never forgive you." Vivian lay quietly on the bed, watching the IV drip fall drop by drop. Only a little remained in the bottle. Mr. Lane had asked the doctor, Vivian's condition was now stable. After the IV finished, they could process the transfer. This time after leaving Anchorage. Perhaps even a long time later she wouldn't return. Vivian didn't know when I learned this news whether I'd feel happy. Vivian wouldn't be clinging to me anymore. I only learned about Vivian being hospitalized for hemorrhaging. After Vivian had been transferred back to New York City, I discovered that after the party ended that night, Vivian had gone back to the hotel alone and drank until she had to be hospitalized. When I heard this news, I froze. Looking at the message Assistant Chen sent on my phone, I was silent for a very long time. Finally still asking, "How is she now?" Assistant Chen replied very quickly, "Nothing serious. She just needs plenty of rest." Hearing that, I felt somewhat relieved. "Then please remind her often, Assistant Chen, to pay attention to rest." Seeing the other side send, "Don't worry, Mr. Xiao." I didn't reply anymore. But from then on, I also didn't receive any news from Vivian anymore. A year later it was freshman welcome season again. That evening I just put down my phone about to rest, when the message notification rang. Opening it, I saw it was from Yi Jiui. At the end of this month the school will hold a welcome gala. Each club will perform a program. The drama club needs someone to perform. Do you want to register to perform in a play? I'd never formally acted before. In previous productions I'd only worked backstage, occasionally playing small supporting roles. I didn't know if I could handle it. At Yi Jiui's invitation, I didn't immediately agree. Though I'd been in the drama club for a year, it wasn't that I'd never performed at all. But after those few times, my performance experience was still basically zero. Before long Yi Jiui messaged again. Most members in the club when they first joined had never acted before. Everyone starts from zero, all progressing bit by bit through trial and error. We're all starting from zero. Don't worry, I'll always be there with you. Plus the play will have auditions. You can try it first and see. If it really doesn't work, consider it preparation for next time. Seeing her last line, I finally made my decision. Then Wang and I will go try it out. Receiving the answer she hoped for, Yi Jiui was in a very good mood. She chatted with me a bit more, then seeing it was late, we wished each other good night. I gently tapped on Wang's bunk. "Wang, are you asleep?" Wang opened drowsy eyes. "What's wrong?" Not understanding why in the middle of the night I was waking him up, I grinned. "Tonight the upperclassmen said there's a welcome gala at the end of the month. The drama club will perform a program. Do you want to try out?" Hearing me say that, Wang turned on his phone to check the time. Silent for a moment. "Can we talk about this tomorrow? Did you really have to wake me up now? It's 1 in the morning. Seeing his resentful gaze, I felt a bit sheepish, but still asked, "So are you going or not?" Yes. Can I sleep now?" Wang's voice carried some helplessness, but in the end still agreed. I finally let Wang off the hook. The next day, after class we both went to the drama club to register. When we arrived, the play had just been decided. The choice was a very classic excerpt from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Initially I only planned to choose a supporting role with a bit more stage time. Who knew Wang would pull me back and directly write my name for the male lead. Then in the list of 7 dwarfs, wrote his own name. "Since you've decided you want to improve, then this time you'll play the prince. I'll play a dwarf." He was incredibly excited, his eyes shining bright, then pulled me closer to upperclassman Zhang Qin. "Will Jiui also register?" Zhang Qin and Wang exchanged glances, looking at the registration sheet. Seeing my name in the male lead slot, she immediately wrote Yi Jiui's name for the female lead. "She's also all arranged now." Yi Jiui and I were left standing there, looking at each other not knowing what to say. Our gazes bewildered. Yi Jiui looked at me. Suddenly felt this was actually good. Originally when she suggested I participate, it was because she wanted more time with me. Now playing the male and female leads, she had an even more legitimate reason. If I passed the auditions, then as the female lead performing with me, naturally we'd have to practice together often. For an entire month Yi Jiui always practiced with me. I have to say, For a newcomer like me, having an experienced person help really saved me a lot of detours. My acting skills also improved noticeably. After nearly a week of practice, the official cast list for the play was confirmed. The list didn't change much. Only some roles that many competed for. Finally choosing the right people and eliminating the rest. That Yi Jiahui and I would play the leads was undisputed. Wang's role changed from a dwarf to the evil queen. This suggestion was mine. After all, we said we wanted to improve together. Can't be just me improving. Wang didn't object either. One day before the registration deadline, he had me change his name to the evil queen role. He chose a role for me. I also chose a role for him. Very fair. After the official cast was set, we had to quickly finalize the costumes. This part was originally Zhang Qin's responsibility. But at that time, I saw Yi Jiahui holding a notebook coming to ask me, "Isn't this part Zhang Qin's responsibility? Why is Jiahui also taking on this part?" Yi Jiahui's face showed clear embarrassment. She's the club president, has too many things to handle. Recently seeing I'm always busy practicing, and frequently in contact with everyone. So she handed this part to me. I hummed softly, taking the notebook from her hands, writing down Wang's and my information. Actually normally for plays, just renting suitable costumes is enough. Don't necessarily have to custom make them every time. But thanks to the generous sponsorship from Lane Corporation, throughout my 4 years of college, Stanford's drama club, from when it was founded until I graduated, became the club that was the wealthiest. Those 4 years at Stanford were the wealthiest time in its history. Everyone could see Lane Corporation was doing this for me. That's why they were so generous. Why they sponsored so heavily. Though I'd never admitted it. But occasionally when asked about our relationship, I would just answer honestly with one line. Just an elder from home. It was 2 weeks before the welcome gala, when Zhang Qin informed me she planned to nominate me as the club's new president. I was a bit surprised, though I knew the person holding the president position would definitely change this year. After all, next semester Zhang Qin would be a senior. Very likely she wouldn't stay at school anymore. Even if she chose to stay, she'd have to dedicate more time to her studies and the upcoming internship period. I just didn't understand why the person chosen was me. Wouldn't Jiahui be more suitable? I was puzzled, so I asked directly. Zhang Qin laughed, saying, "You two are really in sync. When I approached her, she nominated you. When I approached you, you mentioned her. But for this matter, I support Yi Jiahui's thinking. You're both already juniors. Senior year you'll be busy with graduation. Taking over this year just to hand it off next year. Really too rushed. You two are just perfectly suited. Besides, Lane Corporation is really doing this for you. That's why they're covering all the drama club's expenses. You taking that position, no one will object." Actually, when I heard the reason involved Lane Corporation, I was about to decline. But in the end I was still persuaded by Zhang Qin. If I had no intention of cutting ties with the Lanes, then accepting help that rightfully belonged to me, there was nothing to feel guilty about. Even if I mentioned Vivian only as an elder, there was nothing unacceptable about that. In the end I still agreed to take it on. But right now the most important task was still the welcome gala in half a month. This was also the first time I'd perform on stage as the male lead. To say I wasn't nervous would be a lie. Yi Jiahui and I also grew closer and closer. Very quickly it was the day of the gala, when I wore the prince's formal attire and stepped onto the stage. Going on stage, in the back row of seats in the audience, Vivian sat there, her eyes showing clear bewilderment. This performance was sent by Zhang Qin on behalf of the drama club to Lane Corporation. This wasn't the first time Vivian watched the club perform. Or more accurately, every time I was on stage, she was there. But each time she only stood backstage quietly watching. That way she could see me clearly, without distracting me. Only this time I was playing the lead. She wanted to be a real audience member for once. So she chose a seat where few would notice to sit down. Lost in thought, the play had reached the part where the evil queen tricks Snow White into eating the poisoned apple, making her unconscious. The 7 dwarfs discover Snow White has fainted. Everyone is heartbroken. The prince on his white horse appears at this moment. Seeing Snow White being surrounded by the 7 dwarfs, the prince takes out the wishing jewel, successfully revives Snow White, and takes her away. At this moment the narrator's voice rings out. The princess and prince arrive at a beautiful kingdom. From then on living happily ever after. The play ends. The performance was incredibly successful. As the stage curtain was about to fall, the 7 dwarfs each held a small bouquet, presenting them to the princess. By the time the princess received all the flowers, they'd become one really large bouquet. Yi Jiaoi's eyes rarely carried a hint of nervousness. She held the bouquet out before me. Snow White agreed to go with the prince, to become his princess. So Xiao Ethan, will you agree to be my boyfriend? The unexpected confession made the entire auditorium erupt, followed by cheers rising. Say yes. Say yes. On stage the 7 people playing dwarfs, along with Yi Jiaoi and me, spun in circles. When the stage curtain completely fell, my answer still rang out through the microphone not yet removed. I agree. In the audience seating, several rows away, Vivian lingered looking at the closing stage curtain, hiding the figures of those people. In that final moment, she felt as if I'd glanced in her direction once. So distant and unreachable. The end.